This past weekend, the 2026 Pokemon Go Japan National Championships were held. This is a tournament that is held only once per year, and the stakes could not be higher. Trainers from Japan who do well at this tournament earn a guaranteed spot at the Pokemon Go World Championships later this summer in San Francisco, California. To even qualify for Japan Nationals, battlers have to do well at a local tournament, so Japan Nationals every year features the best that Japan has to offer. In today's video, we're going to be following the journey of a trainer named Anagorosan, who ended up placing third at Japan Nationals with a Hisuian Electrode. Electrode gets off to a tough start in his first streamed match as he ends up leading it into Kanto Ninetales. He safe switches Mantine, opponent is going to bank an Energy Ball for later, and then answer the Mantine with Umbreon. But this is not your normal Umbreon. This Umbreon is running the double Dark moveset of Dark Pulse and Foul Play. This is tech that was actually popularized by Rise to Occasion in years past when he ended up winning the Los Angeles Regional Championships. But the Double Dark Umbreon makes its return, and Anagorosan does end up putting up an early Protect Shield as Umbreon full sends the Dark Pulse. If Mantine has the ability to make a play for switch advantage, that would be very, very helpful, because the Hisuian Electrode is extremely strong into his opponent's team as long as it avoids that Kanto Ninetales. Umbreon going to be firing off yet another Dark Pulse. This time no shield comes out from the Mantine, but that does do a decent amount of damage. The Mantine has actually put in some very nice damage onto the Umbreon. Now going to go for yet another Water Pulse. Instant no shield comes out from the Umbreon, but now the Umbreon is rapidly approaching a range where Twister could actually take the knockout. Another Dark Pulse being launched by the Umbreon, another no shield by the Mantine. Mantine able to hang on. Mantine gonna look to overfarm quite significantly and fire off the Twister right before it gets snarled down. Umbreon does get the snarl for free there. Can Umbreon get the farm down here? Will Mantine be able to hang on? No, it will not. So Umbreon does get the snarl down, and now in comes Hisuian Electrode. Electrode's going to have to take a Foul Play followed by a Dark Pulse, but Electrode does have some pretty good stats. Electrode able to take the Foul Play very comfortably, and Electrode is just simply never going to be firing off this energy, because Wild Charge will hit for some pretty significant damage onto the Kanto Ninetales. Umbreon finally gets Thunder Shock down, in comes the Ninetales, going for the Ember, not throwing the Weather Ball out of fear that it would be caught onto a Kingdra. This Wild Charge is going to hurt big damage onto the Ninetales, and in comes Kingdra. Great prediction from the opponent, firing off the Energy Ball. This will hit for some pretty significant damage onto the Kingdra, and now Kingdra is going to be answered with Grumpig. These Psy Waves do add up quite considerably onto the Kingdra. Kingdra is going to fire off Swift. Kingdra hoping that double Swift will be enough with the Dragon Breath to knock out the Grumpig. It's going to be very, very close. Grumpig will be able to hang on. Kingdra has to commit to the Surf and is able to get there. The double Swift would not have done it, but Swift plus Surf is going to be the end of Grumpig. Back in comes the Ninetales. Ninetales needs a farm down to win, but the Kingdra hangs on. Double resisted the Embers, getting the Dragon Breath down, and that's a Game 1 win for Anagorosan. The battlers lock in for Game number 2, Shadow Primeape into Shadow Altaria. One important thing to note about Japan Nationals is it is a closed team sheet format. The movesets are not known, and that means when Ice Punch lands onto Altaria, it is a complete surprise to Anagorosan's opponent. In comes Grumpig. Grumpig looking for a farm down, but unable to get there before Shadow Primeape makes a Rage Fist and pressures away a shield. Immediate pivot out, not going to concede the farm down. In comes Mantine. Mantine is just extremely neutral against his opponent's team. Mantine going to put up the shield as Grumpig fires off the Shadow Ball, and there's the switch. In comes that Umbreon. This Umbreon is down a ton of energy, but that is exactly what Umbreon is here to do. Umbreon is here to be a bulky presence, able to absorb a lot of hits and try and set up that Grumpig to sweep. Mantine going to continue to farm up, fire off the Water Pulse. Umbreon was reaching for the Foul Play, but is unable to get there. Switch Timer will be up very soon for Anagorosan. Switch Timer does come up at the last second, and the Foul Play is going to land onto that Shadow Primeape. Shadow Primeape will get knocked out, but that charge attack basically getting no damage onto the remaining 2 healthy Pokemon is absolutely catastrophic. Timer hits 0, Anagorosan is going to bring back in the Mantine. Mantine out of range where any one charge attack would threaten a knockout. Honestly, even 2 charge attacks will not threaten a knockout. Mantine is just an absolute tank. The Dark Pulse is reached by the Umbreon, but Anagorosan knows this will simply fail to threaten a knockout. Instant no shield from the Mantine. Switch Timer will be up momentarily. Gonna bank a ton of energy. And it's time. In comes Hisuian Electrode. Grumpig is gonna make Dynamic Punch, but this Electrode is still basically full HP. That means Electrode is just simply not going to be threatened. Dynamic lands, Electrode survives, Electrode gets the double up on Wild Charges, and that should be game winning. The Grumpig only has 1 Protect Shield to hide behind, going to deploy it here. Grumpig gonna try for the side wave down. Electrode throws an extra Thunder Shock to get itself even lower. Wild Charge should basically be taking the knockout here. No, Grumpig survives. Grumpig does not get the farm down. And the Umbreon will be able to snarl down, but it's going to be losing charge stack priority. In comes the Mantine. There's the Water Pulse locked and loaded. And Anagorosan is going to be taking the series 2-0. Brought the Electrode both games, and Electrode absolutely popped off, and he's moving on. The next streamed match for Anagorosan was against Happy Boy. Happy Boy is running a team consisting of Pidgeot, Tinkaton, Diggersby, Corsola, Florges, and Poliwrath. The Poliwrath is on Mudshot, and the Florges is on Moonblast. This is going to be a best-of-5 series, again with closed team sheet. The battlers lock in for game number 1, and it's a type-neutral lead, Hisuian Electrode into Galarian Corsola. Corsola does have a massive edge in terms of bulk, but Hisuian Electrode has the far superior pacing. Electrode farms up to the back-to-back Wild Charges, threatening devastating damage. Happy Boy puts up the shield, but gets it wrong as Electrode goes for the Energy Ball bait. Corsola gonna strike back with the Nightshade, but Electrode is still outside of Nightshade range. So Anagorosan is gonna be no shielding. Electrode hangs on, even throws the Thunder Shock, knowing that Astonish would not KO. Incredible matchup knowledge on display, as this Wild Charge damage will be devastating. Aggressive pivot out, safe switching a Sandslash. That's a very risky call considering the opponent's team could have a Poliwrath on it. But Happy Boy has not brought the Poliwrath. Instead, Happy Boy has run a line that is very, very weak to Alolan Sandslash. Happy Boy is going to be sending out the Florges, but Florges is still not in a good matchup. Florges is down a shield, it's down energy, that Ice Punch hits for some pretty massive damage, and even though Chilling Water will hit for neutral, the Alolan Sandslash is outside of range where Chilling Water could set up a farm down. So Chilling Water connects, Anagorosan gonna overfarm, fire off the -1 Ice Punch, switch timer not yet available, so unable to reset that debuff. Ice Punch will be putting Florges very, very low. Happy Boy just going to continue to farm and forces energy out of the Sandslash. The energy on Florges will be lost, but if Florges fired off energy, the Sandslash would have no-shielded and set up the Mantine. Now, Happy Boy will be able to get an energy advantage on the Tinkaton in the back. Tinkaton hits the field, but Tinkaton is completely walled as in comes Mantine. Even though the energy is completely walled, Gigaton Hammer is an extremely efficient attack, so Anagorosan will still put up the shield. Gigaton Hammer does not land. He's going to overfarm quite significantly and then fire off the Water Pulse. Water Pulse not going to do much to the bulky Tinkaton, but it's a war of attrition. The wing attacks slowly start to add up. A Water Pulse landing is devastating as well. After one Gigaton Hammer was shielded, the second is going to be no shielded. And this does a considerable amount of damage to Mantine, but Mantine is just so far ahead. Mantine overfarming, what a turn wait at Anagorosan, ensuring that the Water Pulse will land on its intended target. Water Pulse going to be putting Tinkaton very, very low. He's going to look to farm up. Oh my goodness, look at the catch. Able to save the Mantine, catch the Gigaton Hammer onto Alolan Sandslash. What a catch by Anagorosan. In comes Mantine. Mantine gets the farm down. All that's left in the back is the Corsola. There's just no way out. Happy Boy is going to be no shielding, and that's going to be a Game 1 win to Anagorosan. What a catch. What a game. He did bring the Electrode, and again, it paid off. The battlers lock in for game number 2, and it's a very neutral lead, Alolan Sandslash into Galarian Corsola. Happy Boy has made big adjustments for this game number 2. The fairy types have been benched, and in their place, there's Poliwrath and Pidgeot. The Pidgeot moveset is unknown because it's close team sheets, but that'll be something to watch as the battle progresses. Ice Punch lands onto the Corsola. Happy Boy predicts a catch on a Mantine, but no catch comes through, and instead it's going to be an instant no-shield of the Power Gem on the Alolan Sandslash. Sandslash tanks the hit. In comes Hisuian Electrode, and this is where things could get very, very rough for Happy Boy. Happy Boy's backline gets destroyed by Electrode's energy, so he stays in with Corsola, fires off the Nightshade, and Electrode puts up the shield. Electrode gonna look to overfarm. Happy Boy waits the turn, tries for the catch and sneak, but Anagorosan reacts. He fires off the Wild Charge. Will Happy Boy read it? Happy Boy puts up the shield at the last second. That was almost disaster, but getting that call right should allow Pidgeot now to double shield and fully farm down. We now see the Pidgeot moveset revealed. It is running Heat Wave as the nuke move, so it can hit for double super effective into that Alolan Sandslash. But by Pidgeot running Heat Wave, that means it can't really do a lot of damage into the Mantine. Anagorosan is going to wait down the timer, clock hits 0, and in comes Mantine. Mantine will be able to absorb the Air Cutters. Air Cutter really does not do a whole lot of damage, but what Air Cutter does do is have a chance at a boost. There's a switch, in comes a Sand Slash, gonna unleash the Ice Punch, but Pidgeot is not Shadow, it should be able to hang on here. Ice Punch lands, Pidgeot survives, and in comes Poliwrath. These Mud Shots are not doing a lot of damage, and that is almost worse, because this Poliwrath is gonna get so much farm. Sand Slash is able to make the drill run, but Poliwrath is so incredibly bulky. Poliwrath gets a huge farm down, and now this Mantine is about to be permanently debuffed. Mantine is about to be hit with back-to-back Icy Winds, meaning that Mantine's normally okay attack stat is going to be reduced to basically nothing. Even though Mantine is at a type advantage in this matchup, with Poliwrath applying all these debuffs, suddenly even the Poliwrath is going to be difficult to remove from the field of play. Poliwrath farms up, Mantine gonna fire off the Twister, but this is a -2 Twister. Will this even be enough to take the knockout? Poliwrath hangs on, Poliwrath makes a third Icy Wind, and it's just all going wrong. The Poliwrath adjustment from Happy Boy proves to be game-winning. The Mantine is just simply too low. In comes Corsola, and Corsola will be able to force out energy from the Mantine, but this is a -3 Twister. It's never knocking out. Corsola is too bulky, and Happy Boy gets the equalizer. We move to game number 3 of this best of 5 series, and it's going to be Electrode picking up a very favorable lead as it leads into Tinkaton. Tinkaton can hit for resisted damage with Gigaton Hammer or neutral with Bulldoze, but Bulldoze is such a terrible move that Gigaton Hammer is going to be the move to go for. Happy Boy lands Gigaton that hits for big damage on the Electrode, and now Electrode is at the back-to-back Wild Charges. Back-to-back Wild Charge will be enough to secure the knockout. Happy Boy will put up the shield as he's going to look to try and make a play for switch advantage. Electrode will unleash Wild Charge number 2. This time, no shield comes out from Happy Boy. The Electrode now at -4, so there's the switch, and in comes Mantine. Tinkaton is completely walled here, but Gigaton Hammer is such an incredibly efficient move. No shield from the Mantine, Gigaton connects, and out comes Galarian Corsola. This is not what Anagorosan was hoping to see, because Anagorosan has made an adjustment. For the first time this series, Shadow Primeape has been brought to the battle. But unfortunately, Shadow Primeape is not going to see Corsola, a Pokemon it wanted to see, but instead is looking like it's going to be aligned onto the Florges. Florges has returned in game number 3, and it's the perfect adjustment for Happy Boy to counter that Primeape. Corsola is now starting to get pretty low. It doubles up on the Nightshades, and Anagorosan gets the catch onto his sweet Electrode. Undercharge, just gonna go for the nice. That sets up one extra Astonish for the Corsola, so a great catch from Anagorosan, but a very nice undercharge from Happy Boy. In comes the Shadow Primeape. Primeape will have to put up the shield. Primeape's never gonna be able to Karate Chop down here, so Primeape is gonna be forced to fire off the Rage Fist. Rage Fist will be thrown right before the Nightshade is available, and Happy Boy cannot afford to shield. If Florges has a shield to hide behind, then Florges should be in a pretty good spot. In comes the Florges. These Fairy Winds are shredding. Primeape gonna fire off a +1 Rage Fist. No shield comes out from Happy Boy. This will be a lot of HP lost on the Florges. Florges will have the ability to fire off the Chilling Water, but instead is gonna look for the full farm down, and that lets a second Rage Fist be reached. There is a decent amount of energy available on the Mantine. How well can Anagorosan manage energy? Mantine, not particularly close to the Water Pulse, forced to put up the shield as Chilling Water comes out from the Florges. The energy management is going to have to be perfect. Mantine farms up. There's the pivot into Tinkaton. Tinkaton racing to the Gigaton Hammer, but unable to get there. Water Pulse is going to take the knockout. How much energy does Florges have? Tinkaton falls. In comes Florges. Florges wins charge attack priority. That is as close as it can get, but it's going to be Happy Boy knocking out Mantine and moving one win away from advancing in this best of 5 series. The battle is locked in for game number 4, a must-win game for Anagorosan, and that is the worst-case scenario lead, leading Alolan Sand Slash into Poliwrath. Mantine save switch unanswered by Happy Boy. Happy Boy will stay in an Icy Wind debuff before looking to pivot out. Icy Wind isn't really going to do a lot of damage, but it's not about the damage, it's about the debuff. And with that debuff, suddenly, Mantine has been rendered largely ineffective against the Galarian Corsola. Galarian Corsola could already tank Water Pulses very comfortably. At -1, that Water Pulse is doing absolutely 0 damage. Anagorosan gonna look to overfarm. A Nightshade bait comes out from Happy Boy, and he reads that Anagorosan is gonna try and protect the Mantine and pivot out of this matchup and reset the debuff. There's the pivot out. In comes Hisuian Electrode. Hisuian Electrode gonna be hit with the Nightshade. No shield comes out. There's a lot of stored energy on that Mantine, but being down a shield and not having switch advantage means this is going to be a very tricky game. Is Galarian Corsola even in a range where Wild Charge will knock out? Happy Boy is gonna be no shielding. Does Electrode have what it takes? Wild Charge connects. Corsola survives by a 1 HP, and in comes Florges. but Florges is going to take monster damage from the Wild Charge. Florges no shields, but it's going to pay a very heavy price. Wild Charge connects, Florges farms down, Florges does exit with the Chilling Water loaded, and in comes Sandslash to absorb the damage. The dance continues, the clocks are desynced, the Sandslash now in a pretty good position. Sandslash needs to neutralize the Florges. Sandslash will be able to outpace. Sandslash did not want to let the Florges survive, instead firing off the Drill Run, covering for a catch on a Poliwrath, even though the switch timer was not quite yet available. When Poliwrath hits the field, that's when the stored Mantine energy from earlier is going to be critical. Timer hits 0, Poliwrath hits the field, Sandslash stays in, banks a bit of energy, and there's the combo play as Twister is going to be fired. Twister is going to be shielded up by the Poliwrath, but Poliwrath is going to get outpaced here. What a perfectly timed swap by Anagorosan, doing the 2 Powder Snows and switching, ensuring that both Twisters would be reached before Poliwrath got the Icy Wind. Poliwrath launches Icy Wind, but Mantine is outside of range. The Corsola is very, very low in the back. Maybe the Corsola can make a move. Mantine gonna make the Twister and outpace. The turn weight not letting the catch happen. Beautiful play. This is a debuff Twister, but now it's guaranteed to land. This Twister will be putting the Poliwrath pretty close to the red HP. Mantine is just simply too healthy. Poliwrath can never farm down, and forcing the energy is what's going to win Anagorosan this game. Icy Wind takes the knockout. The Sandslash led into Poliwrath at the start of this game and all seemed lost, but now the script has been flipped. Poliwrath goes for the Icy Wind, trying to lower the Powder Snow damage, but it's just too little, too late. Sandslash Powder Snows down the Poliwrath. Powder Snows down the Corsola, which was 1 away from the move, and we're going to a winner-take-all decisive game number 5. The stage is set, the players are ready, and it's a very strong lead for Anagorosan, leading Hisuian Electrode into Gigaton. In these situations, Happy Boy has preferred to go for Gigaton Hammer. Even though it's resisted, that damage is absolutely undeniable. Anagorosan with the no shield, gonna take quite a lot of damage, but Hisuian Electrode will be able to comfortably hang on. Electrode gonna overfarm quite significantly, firing off the Wild Charge. Last time Happy Boy did end up putting up a shield, but this time opting to let it go. Gigaton gets rocked. Electrode tries to CMP tie, but Happy Boy this time not going to go for it. Instead, going to be putting up the shield. Will he be able to get the Fairy Wind farm down here? Electrode racing to the Wild Charge, unable to get there, and Happy Boy will actually be able to win switch advantage at the expense of a shield. But this can set up a pretty massive farm down for the Alolan Sandslash or the Mantine. It's going to be the Alolan Sandslash. Sandslash hits the field, Gigaton Hammer is reached, and a no shield from Anagorosan. Anagorosan is calling its Poliwrath in the back, but it's not, and Sandslash pays a very heavy price. Sandslash gets the farm down, but has lost almost its entire health bar. In comes Galarian Corsola. Corsola will instantly no shield the Ice Punch, but that Tinkaton basically KO'd 2 entire Pokemon by itself. This game is going to be won or lost on the back of Mantine. Mantine going to strike first as it goes for the Water Pulse. Water Pulse not going to be threatening Corsola, so Happy Boy is going to be no shielding. In the back, Happy Boy does have the Florges. There's still a little bit of HP remaining on that Alolan Sandslash, and that could be critical for dealing with the Florges later in the game. Nightshade Bait is going to be grabbing the shield from the Mantine. There's the pivot out, and in comes Florges. This Florges is running Moonblast, which means its pacing is not the best, but its neutral damage is undeniable. Mantine goes for the Water Pulse, Happy Boy gets the shield call right, and this endgame is going to be very difficult. No bait, Happy Boy going to be full set into Moonblast. Anagorosan tries to call the bait and pays dearly as Moonblast lands. In comes the Sandslash. The Sandslash is very low, but it does have quite a lot of stored energy. Sandslash going to fire off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch does do big damage onto the Florges. Florges is going to be able to outpace here, and Florges is able to make the Chilling Water. Chilling Water will be pressuring away the final shield from the Sandslash. Sandslash needs to be able to take the knockout here. Sandslash farming up, over farming as much as possible at the game-winning catch from Happy Boy. Catching onto the Corsola. Anagorosan undercharges, knowing the game is over. There is just no path forward. Mantine was very close to the Twister, but could not survive the Astonish, and Happy Boy takes the series 3-2. Happy Boy would go on to win in the grand finals and be crowned the Japan national champion. So big congratulations to Happy Boy. But I personally wanted to highlight the run of Anagorosan because I thought their team was incredibly innovative. Running Hisuian Electrode after Energy Ball got massively reworked, running Mantine after it got access to Twister, running the newly buffed Kingdra as well, the newly buffed Alolan Sandslash. That is 4 of 6 Pokemon that got buffed in this Forever Forward season. So taking a risk, as this tournament was only days after the new season began, running a lot of new picks, and it paid off in a very big way, with Hisuian Electrode taking a starring role. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I've personally been incredibly busy in the month of June. With the start of the new season, I went to Chicago Go Fest over the weekend. If you're watching this video on the day that it releases, then as of tomorrow, I'm flying to New Orleans to cast the North American International Championship, so I'll be gone for a week. But I still did want to get a More Slice Henry video out. Japan Nationals only occur once per year, and I was very, very happy to see a Hisuian Electrode get as far as it did. Getting all the way up to 3rd place is an incredible accomplishment for a Pokemon that spicy, and Anagorosan has guaranteed a qualification to the World Championships later this season. I do want to give a massive congratulations to Happy Boy, who ended up piloting a pretty innovative team as well, with Poliwrath and Pidgeot, and able to claim the title of the 2026 Japan National Champion. I believe I thanked you already for watching today's video, but thank you again. If you enjoy watching content like this, my name is Home Slice Henry, and this is More Slice Henry, my second channel where I make content primarily related to competitive Pokemon Go. If that's something you enjoy, please do leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. My analytics say there's a bunch of people watching who haven't subscribed yet, so it's probably worth double checking. And I'll see you guys in the next video.